I've reviewed a number of the Jakks Pacific 31-inch figures on my channel, including the R2-D2, Yoda, and BB-8 figures, so I thought I would also do a review of their Kylo Ren and Stormtrooper figures from The Force Awakens. These were originally released a few months ago to coincide with the release of the film, and cost around $40 a piece, but I ended up waiting until they were on clearance for around 50% off before buying any. I got one Kylo Ren figure and one Stormtrooper, and then looked for quite a while to get another Stormtrooper to put on the other side of Kylo Ren, but never really found any. All the ones on clearance were in kind of bad shape, dirty or missing their weapon, so I never got another one until recently, but more on that in a little bit. Let's look at the Kylo Ren figure first. As I said, these are part of the 31-inch line, so they are impressively large. The sculpting seems quite good with a reasonable amount of detail, and while I'm not generally a fan of cloth on figures, it works really well on a figure of this size. This allows you to remove his hood and reveal the Vader-like helmet below. There's not a lot in terms of articulation. These are essentially plastic statues, but you can move his head back and forth. His arms move at the shoulders, up and down, and his hands also rotate at the wrists. Finally, he has some waist articulation as well, but nothing below the waist, so you can't move his legs at all. The lightsaber itself is nicely sculpted and painted, and I like that they use blades that recreate the rough look of the saber from the movie, rather than a smooth, translucent blade, for example. All three blades are removable. He looks okay with the unignited saber, I think, but most people will probably just keep the blades in there for display. It's a little odd that they went with a gripping pose for the other hand, since he has nothing to grip. I think they just used a mirror image of his other hand, but I would have preferred a Force hand or just a relaxed hand instead. The Stormtrooper is, of course, largely white, which makes it more prone to dirt and grime than some other figures. The helmet is nicely sculpted, with quite a bit of detail. I still prefer the original trilogy design for the helmets, but these are pretty good. The paint lines are generally clean, without a lot of overspray or paint in the wrong places. I do wonder if this will yellow over time, as many white plastics do, but at the moment it's very nice looking white. The only criticism I have is that it's a matte finish rather than a glossy one, which is what Stormtroopers should have. His articulation is very similar to Kylo Ren's. His head will turn left and right. His arms move up and down at the shoulders, and his wrists twist. Plus he has some articulation at the waist, but nothing below the waist. It's a little too bad that you can't have him holding his blaster in two hands, which is a pose we kind of associate with Stormtroopers. The blaster looks good, but it's glued to the hand, and in fact the blaster's grip is part of the hand sculpt, so you can't easily remove it and have it look natural. Like Kylo Ren, they seem to have used a mirror image of his blaster hand for the other hand, but depending on how you pose it, it can look like he's pointing, which is kind of cool. One last thing I should mention is that these figures have quite a few visible screw holes. They aren't too obvious on Kylo Ren, but they do stick out on the Stormtrooper. Still, they're mostly on the back, so you probably won't notice them when you just have the figure on display. One other thing I should mention is that these figures are all essentially the same height, 31 inches, rather than being in scale with one another. That means that a figure like Vader seems quite a bit smaller than he really should be in comparison with the Stormtrooper. An online retailer recently clearanced out their stock of these figures, and a combination of coupons and offers allowed me to get the Stormtroopers for less than $7 a piece, including shipping. At that price, these are totally a no-brainer. I almost wish I had bought more. Now, the 31-inch figures in particular are a bit too big to actually play with, I think, but they do make for a very impressive display like this. I plan to put these guys to work guarding our basement or garage very soon. Mighty Jabba's collection has more than just Jabba-related items in it. I collect a variety of Star Wars merchandise, including figures like these, and of course the Jakks Pacific figures. Feel free to click through and look at any of these videos, or click subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of my future videos. You can also hit me up on Twitter. I'm at MightyJabba, or come to my website at mightyjabba.com. Thanks for watching.